This video is sponsored by Card Trader, a global marketplace where you can buy and sell TCG cards like the Pokemon trading card game. And you can also check out PTCGLstore.com, a great place for you to buy Pokemon TCG code cards. The links will be in the description below. Hey guys, in today's video, I'll be showcasing Alakazam from the Mega Evolution base set. What makes this Alakazam great is because of its attack powerful hand. For just 1 psychic energy, you place 2 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon for each card in your hand. This attack is so powerful that it has potential to one-hit KO any Pokemon in the game, and yes, even the Megas. And conveniently enough, its ability, Psychic Draw, actually helps you draw more cards. Once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you can draw 3 cards. Similarly, its Stage 1 Kadabra has a similar ability, but it only lets you draw 2 cards instead of 3. To get more cards in our hand, increasing Alakazam's attack, we'll also be using the Dunsparce with a Runaway Draw ability. Once during your turn, you may draw 3 cards, and if you do, you shuffle this Pokemon and everything attached back into your deck. As for my spec card, I'll be using the Enriching Energy. When you attach this to one of your Pokemon, you can draw 4 cards. It is preferable that you attach this one to your Dunsparce so that you can shuffle it back to your deck and just keep reusing it. So now once you've accumulated enough cards in your hand, it's just a matter of knocking out whichever Pokemon gets in your way. But try not to overdraw too much when you don't need to, because when you get hit by Zoroark's machinations, you'll be discarding a ton of your cards until you only have 3 in your hand. As for my other attackers though, I also have this Alakazam more for its Change Hacking attack. This will confuse your opponent's active Pokemon, and you can move any damage counters from your opponent's Pokemon and shuffle those damage to their other Pokemon in any way you like. Even if you don't knock out your opponent's high HP Pokemon from your other Alakazam, this attack is a great way to distribute the damage so that you can still get multiple knockouts. I do have a showcase of this in this video, so look out for that one. And finally, I also have Alakazam EX. I think this is a great addition to this build so you have at least one Pokemon that can tank a hit if needed, but also because it has regular attacks. You see, the attacks of the other Alakazams in this deck actually deal effects of attacks instead of just regular damage. So just in case your opponent can negate those effects like the ability of Toadstool EX, you'll have Alakazam EX with its regular attacks. First, it has Mind Jack for 2 colorless energies. It deals 90 plus damage and an additional 30 more damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And its second attack is Dimensional Hand for 2 psychic energies. It deals 120 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. And you can actually use this attack even if this Pokemon is on your bench. Overall, this Alakazam build is super strong. The only weaknesses for this build, of course, is for any cards that can disrupt your hand or anything that can prevent you from setting up your Abra with super low HP. And that's why a lot of players are actually now adding Battle Cage Stadiums in their Alakazam builds for that extra defense against damage counter spread. But besides that, this build is super competitive, it's very consistent, and I highly recommend it. Anyways, that's pretty much it. You can find the complete deck list in the description below. And now please enjoy the following gameplay videos showcasing Alakazam. Before we get into the video, I have a small request. If you're liking the content I create, please leave a like to this video and please support this channel by subscribing if you haven't already. This is a small click for you, but for me, it means a lot. Thank you so much for all of your support. Alright, on to our first match. I'll be starting this one with Badoo in the active spot, and I will be going first in this matchup. My opponent will mulligan once, and we are going against Charizard EX. Thankfully, we have Badoo. We can item lock our opponent. Hopefully, we can stall, buy some time to set up our board. But what I really like about this Alakazam is the fact that we can pretty much one-hit knock out any Pokemon in the game. So we're not intimidated by those high HP matchups, and we'll always have that 2-to-1 or even 3-to-1 price trade advantage. I'm gonna go ahead and use Buddy Poffin to start. Get our Abra out here along with Dunsparce, and I'm just gonna set up another Abra, and I'm just gonna end my turn. So my opponent's starting with Charmander in their active. They also have Kyurem EX. And with Buddy Poffin, they'll set up another Charmander along with Pidgey. Thankfully, they will not be able to attack with Charmander, so Badoo should be able to survive this turn. And they're going to use Iono. Okay, that actually got us really bad cards, but thankfully we have Enriching Energy. So hopefully that will help us draw into better cards. And they're going to discard their Stadium with Charmander's attack. Hey, we got Lily's Determination. Okay. Let's go ahead and use that. Draw 8. Nice, look at this. So, we'll evolve into the Dunsparce. We can evolve into this Alakazam. And then we can evolve into Kadabra. So that will activate Psychic Draw. We can draw 2. And then I'm going to use Runaway Draw ability. We got Nest Ball. Reset up our Dunsparce. And I think I'm going to get another Dunsparce. We're going to Itchy Pollen. Item lock our opponent. So we know for sure they cannot use Rare Candy. They can attack with this Charmander, knock us out, that's fine. But we have Hilda, we can get Energy, we can get an Evolution Pokemon, and we'll go from there. Let's go ahead and put Dunsparce in the active. I'm going to use Runaway Draw anyways. We can evolve this guy into our Alakazam. Psychic Draw, draw 3. And look at that, we got 2 to Dunsparce. So it's really easy to fill your hand with a lot of cards. I'm going to go ahead and use Runaway Draw first. That will empty up the active. We can pivot, use another Runaway Draw, and then I'll just set up another Dunsparce. We have one in our hand. We can use Flip the Script, and ooh, we got Counter Catcher. Look at that. But I'm gonna use Hilda for now. Get the Dunsparce. And I'm just gonna target this Pheasantipity. Evolve this. Psychic Draw for 2. And we're just gonna use Powerful Hand, dealing 280 damage to knock out their Pheasantipity EX. And that's gonna get us our first 2 prizes of this game. So we got Alakazam EX, Kadabra. So we're well on our way. So we're ahead in the prize trade already. We can just easily evolve into another Alakazam. We have Hilda. So we have a lot of ways to just deal a lot of damage against this Charizard EX. Again, the price trade advantage just overwhelming our opponent, I think. They take 1 prize, but we take 2 every time. They're going to use Iono, put us back to 4, but you know, that 4 it can easily become like 10 or more. They will evolve into another Charizard EX. Attach more energies to their other Pokemon. And they're going to attack with Burning Darkness, dealing 480 damage to knock out our Alakazam. I'm going to pivot into our Kadabra. We can evolve into Alakazam. We have the energy. Can we draw enough to knock out this Charizard? So we'll have Psychic Draw. We'll attach this energy. I could use Lily's Determination to get 6. Maybe we can draw into the Dunsparce. And then use Flip the Script after that. But let me just put another Abra into play. Draw 6. And we got the Dunsparce. Nice. We'll use Flip the Script first. We got 2 to Dunsparce. Runaway Draw. We're going to do another Runaway Draw. And then I'm going to use Buddy Buddy Poffin to reset up my Dunsparce. 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 12. 240? 230. Okay. 230. Not enough to knock out Charizard EX. However, if they don't evolve their other Pokemon, I could use my other Alakazam to actually Just spread those damage, get 3 prizes for it. Okay, they're gonna take another knockout. We have to be very careful because they can easily target Fez and then get 2 prizes for that. So, I need an energy on this Alakazam. I have Night Stretcher. We can recover this. We'll attach this. We're gonna slowly set up into another Alakazam. But we can draw with Kadabra. Evolve our Dunsparce. Use Artisan. We don't need Psyduck. And let me boss this guy because it doesn't have energies. And then whatever's left over of those damage, we could just use that to knock it out. So we're gonna knock out Charmander. We're gonna knock out their Pidgeys. And we're gonna get 3 prizes. And there you have it. Let's go. So now they're gonna have a hard time retreating this Charizard EX. We just got 3 prizes in that single attack. I don't know if my opponent was expecting that, but that's what we got. So building up those damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, even if you don't knock it out with your other Alakazam, you can use this Alakazam's strange hacking attack to still get multiple knockout, which is pretty awesome. So all we have to do is just retreat. I could even use the other Alakazam to attack, and I think it's going to be enough. With all these cards in our hand, this should be enough to actually knock out this Charizard EX. And that's going to get us our last prize. So I'm just going to build up just to make sure. And we're just going to use Powerful Hand. 480 damage to knock out their Charizard, getting us our last prize. There you have it, guys. Good game. Moving on to our second match. I'm going to start this one with Dunsparce in the active. We also have Abra to go on our bench. My opponent's going to start with Soul Rock, and we are going first. We got another Dunsparce. Can attach an energy. Set up another basic with Artisan. Let's go for another Abra. And I'm going to use Great Ball. Okay, we got a bunch of Alakazam. I don't know if we need Shaman in this matchup. So I think I'm just going to grab another Abra. And we're just going to pass. So the Soul Rock Lunatone combo is actually pretty versatile. You can use it in some other decks. And Lunatone has that ability where if you discard a fighting energy from your hand, you can draw 3. And with the Nest Ball, my opponent's gonna set up Riolu. So we're going against Mega Lucario EX, which we actually have type advantage if we use Alakazam EX. Now the other Alakazam only uses damage counters, which doesn't reflect weakness, but we do still have potential to one-hit knock out their Mega Pokemon. So they're gonna take a knockout with their Soul Rock. I'm just gonna get Badoo because there's really no way for us to draw extra cards this time. Let me boss this guy in the active just in case they cannot evolve it yet. And I'm just gonna Itchy Pollen for now. Item lock them, prevent them from using their item cards. Hopefully they cannot set up. But we have no cards in our hand is the problem. Ooh, they also have the Dusknoir lineup, which could be very bad because our Abras have really low HP, so not a good sign. Dude, we got Lily's Determination. Use that right away, right? So we draw 8, we got Kadabra. Psychic draw, we can draw 2. We got the Dunsparce, we can draw 3. Dude, we desperately needed that. Thankfully, we got Lily's Determination. This should be enough though. Let's see if we can get our Psyduck, prevent them from using their Dusclops or Dusknoir. Get Dunsparce and then I'm just gonna retreat. I could just knock out this Riolu with this Kadabra. For a single Psychic Energy, we deal 30, but since we're hitting for weakness, we're hitting for 60. And that initial 10 damage from Badoo, we can knock out this Riolu. So that's gonna get us our first prize. And we got Alakazam. Okay. So we have resistance to fighting. So even if they attack with their Soul Rock, anyways, it's not gonna be enough to knock out our Kadabra. But man, that Lily's determination got us out of that situation. So Psyduck has been very, very useful. Thanks to its damp ability, prevents any Pokemon that knocks itself out, prevents them from using that ability. My opponent's gonna use Iono. And they're gonna pass, okay. I'm okay with that. We'll evolve into another Kadabra. We'll draw 2. And then we got another Dunsparce. And then we can draw 3 with the Psychic Draw, evolving into Alakazam. And this should be enough to knock out their Dusclops, putting 16 damage counters. And we got our prize. We got a Great Ball. So you don't want to overdraw all the time, especially if your opponent has counter, such as Jurassic's Machinations. They will force you to discard your entire hand except for 3, which is pretty bad. So draw only what you need, and it's easy to recover with this Alakazam anyways. It's always good to have the Dunsparce saved up on your bench at all times. So even if your opponent dwindles down your hand, you have an extra draw ready to go with the Dunsparce. So always keep that in mind. But my opponent will evolve their Riolu to Mega Lucario EX. They even have Maximum Belt to increase damage, but that only works against EX Pokemon, so that's overkill. It's not really necessary, but that's alright. We can easily knock out this Lucario. But just keep in mind, the damage counter, it doesn't reflect weakness or resistance, so you just put damage counters on your opponent. It's an effect of an attack. But thankfully, we have Alakazam EX. And that's why having this in the deck is super awesome. And since we already have an energy on our Kadabra, we just evolve our active, can attach another energy, and we can use Mind Jack. And there it is, 480 damage. Easily knocking out their Mega Lucario EX, and that's gonna get us 3 prizes. So there you have it, guys. Having Alakazam EX in this build is very useful too. But use it sparingly, because if you don't want your opponent taking 2 prizes, you don't want to use this Alakazam EX. Use it only when necessary. Because the other Alakazam can deal so much damage anyways. But if your opponent has counters to effects of attacks, anything like that, you also have this Alakazam EX as your alternative attacker, because its attacks are just regular attacks. And not only that, you can attack with this guy even from your bench. So can my opponent set up another Mega Lucario EX? We don't know. But even then, we have resistance to fighting, so they're not going to be dealing a lot of damage to our Pokemon anyways. They're going to attempt to attack with Soul Rock, but again with resistance, they're only going to deal 40 damage at most. Oh wait, no. Soul Rock's attack is not affected by resistance. Okay. Anyways, we're just going to finish off their Soul Rock, and we're going to get our last prize to win us the game. There you have it. Good game. On to our third and final match. Once again, I will be going first in this matchup, and we're going to start this one with Dunsparce. And my opponent's going to start with Petron. So we can expect poison damage being utilized on our opponent's build. We got another Dunsparce. We can get 2 Abras with this Buddy Buddy Poffin. And then we can use Artisan. And I think I'm going to set up another Abra. I'm going to attach the Enriching Energy to the active. Draw 4. And I think I'm just going to end my turn for now. So, poison damage. They might have Brute Bonnet in this build. If they poison our active with Petulant, I think they're only dealing 6 damage, 6 poison damage counters, so I think this Dunsparce should be able to survive. We're going to use Iono. Our hand isn't all that great. My opponent's going to use their Precious Trolley, but only to get their Latias EX, giving all of their basic Pokemon with 0 retreat cost, and they're going to use Badoo to Itchy Pollen. So we can't use our item cards at this point. I'm going to battle with item lock, guys. I'm going to discard my Enriching Energy, that's fine. And I'm just going to Itchy Pollen our opponent as well. I don't know if you guys remember the episode, early episodes of Pokemon, where Ash battled this bug catcher, and they were battling between their Metapod. I thought that was a really funny episode because their Metapod just kept using Harden. And this reminds me of that, you know, with Badoo and its item lock. It's just so powerful in the format right now. Sometimes you just item lock each other. It's it's like annoying and like funny at the same time. So they removed their Badoo, retreated back to Badoo again, I guess, so that they can get ahead the damage counter. But that's fine. We have Hilda, so we can grab an evolution Pokemon, evolve that, can draw, and I can even attack with this Kadabra. But I'm gonna take it slow for now. We need more time to continue to set up. Hopefully this will slow down our opponent as well, although they have access to Arven now. And they have Ancient Booster Energy Capsule. Once attached to that Brute Bonnet, that will activate its ability, or they can activate the ability, and that will poison both active Pokemon. But they're going to retreat their Badoo into Petulant, and this Petulant can increase poison damage. So we were poisoned by 6 poison damage. That knocked out our Badoo. They're going to get their first prize. And I'm just going to switch our Kadabra in the active. We drew into another Kadabra. We can draw more cards with Psychic Draw. And I'm just going to use Great Ball. We got Pheasantipity EX. We can't use Flip the Script because our Pokemon was knocked out by poison and not by an attack. So we can't use Flip the Script. We got Runaway Draw ability though. I could just attack with this Alakazam for now. Set up our Dunsparce. And I'm going to attack this Brute Bonnet. Because without poison, their Petrons are practically useless. So we got our first prize. And we got Alakazam. So the thing is, on most of these builds, they have limited amount of Ancient Energy Capsule. So if we could just keep knocking out their Brute Bonnet, discard their Ancient Booster Energy Capsule tool card. If they run out of it, they're not going to be able to poison us at all. So that's one strategy that we could do. Otherwise, we could just continue to knock out our opponent's Pokemon. Let me get Kadabra using Hilda. We'll evolve this. We can draw 2. Evolve into the Dunsparce. Energize that guy. And we're just gonna use Powerful Hand. Right now, with all the cards that we have in our hand, we're dealing 300 damage, or make that 30. 30 damage counters. Which is pretty insane. 30 damage counters. So two damage counters for each card in our hand. So we have 15 basically if we're dealing 300. So now my opponent has Brute Bonnet all set up. They are once again poisoning our Pokemon. But 6 damage counters or 6 poison damage every turn isn't all that bad, I guess. I'll power up my Kadabra. I'm going to evolve into my Alakazam EX. Retreat into the Dunsparce. And I'm just going to use Dimensional Hand. Deal 120 damage to their active. Even though Alakazam is on the bench, you can use that attack. It's the most unique attack in the game, in my opinion. Sadly, this Alakazam will be rotating out, I believe. So now, even if my opponent uses Poison on the Dunsparce, we can just shuffle it back to the deck. But they also have Conkeldurr as an attacker. So if Conkeldurr has a special condition, it can attack for 0 energy. So they're gonna boss my Pheasantipede EX. Sadly, it is weak against fighting. They're dealing 500 damage, knocking it out, and they're gonna get 2 prizes. But you know what I'm gonna do? I could just continue to attack with Alakazam EX and not lose 2 prizes, right? So 240, we are hitting for weakness still, despite it being in the bench. We'll take a knockout against their Conkeldurr. And they're going to have a hard time setting up those stage 2 every single turn. And our Alakazam will be safe and sound on the bench. And even if they try to take a knockout against our Pokemon, they're only taking 1 prize at a time. Unless they boss my Alakazam. But it will require two attacks because we're also resistant to fighting. So that does add to our bulk or defense. So it's not going to be easy for them to knock out our Alakazam EX. So we have a lot of options here. We can attack with our regular Alakazam. We have Alakazam EX. But with how the price trade is going right now, we're still going to win this one. The only way my opponent can win this is if they can take 2 prizes. So they're dealing 500 damage to knock out our Dunsparce. We'll put this Alakazam in the active. We don't need to attack with it. I mean, we can, but you know what? We got boss's orders anyways. We drew into our boss's orders. We just need an energy. We'll power up this guy, and guess what, guys? I'm just gonna get this Latias EX. We're gonna knock it out to get our last 2 prizes to win us the game. Good game. And that's it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching the Popsicleknight channel, and until next time, please stay safe and have a great day.